Hello everybody and welcome back to another video on Cobbler's Vlogs, where today is the day I've been dreading for the last nine months. Just before the start of the season, I made my table predictions for the League 2 season 2021-2022. Today, we're going to have a look back at what I said in that video back in, what was it, August now? It must have been back in August, and see where everybody finished. There's some absolute howlers in here, so make sure to stay tuned to see where I predicted everybody. But yeah, that's the theme for today's video. We're going to have a look at what I said I thought would happen in League 2 this season and compare it to what actually happened. So what are we waiting for? Let's get into it. Okay, so we're going to go from who I predicted it in 24th right the way up to first, and just see where each team finished in the end. I had an absolute howler to start off with. I predicted in 24th relegated Sutton United. Absolutely awful prediction it turned out to be. Matt Gray's done a fantastic job there this year. They obviously reached the Papa John's Trophy final, don't forget that. So I predicted Sutton to finish 24th. They ended up finishing 8th, just outside the playoffs. So an absolutely terrible prediction, and I'll be revising that one for next year. That's for sure. Won't be predicting Sutton that low, unless maybe they have second season syndrome and struggle next season. Who knows? In 23rd, I predicted Hartlepool. Up and down season for Hartlepool. Showed some good signs and just haven't been, I think consistency has been their problem really this season, Hartlepool. Predicted them to go down in 23rd. They finished 17th in the end, so a decent season for them. They'll take that as their first season back in the Football League. In 22nd, I predicted Walsall. In a video, I said Walsall are going to finish 22nd because of Ash Taylor. Ash Taylor obviously then left in January. January time, it wasn't looking too good for Walsall. They were struggling down there, but they managed to get a few wins, pick up some points, and finished in a nice, safe 16th. But obviously way below their standards. Walsall, for a club that have been in League One for a long time previously, shouldn't be knocking around in 16th in League Two. In 21st, I predicted Swindon. This is another really bad prediction. They finished 6th, obviously lost to Port Vale on penalties in the playoffs last night. Predicted them to finish 21st, but I can caveat this one. If you remember, Swindon were in huge financial trouble towards the start of last season. They managed to get out of it and sort themselves out and get a good squad together, and managed to mount a playoff challenge and finish 6th. So you can kind of understand why I put Swindon there, but you know, they managed to claw it back and do pretty well for themselves. So Swindon finished 6th. I predicted them to finish 21st. The next one is probably the closest one that we've got so far. I predicted Oldham Athletic to finish 20th. Predicted that they were going to struggle in League 2 this season. Obviously, they had Keith Curl in charge for the majority of the season. The resurrection nearly happened when John Sheridan came in towards the end of the season, but it wasn't quite enough. And Oldham are National League now. They finished 23rd. So only 3 places off, but I predicted Oldham to struggle. They really did struggle. So that one came true. The next one is the only one in the whole table that I got bang on in position, and that is Harrogate Town. Predicted them to finish 19th. That's exactly where they finished. Had a really good start to the season, Harrogate. I remember Cobblers played them in December, and it was like 3rd versus 7th or something like that. You know, they got into the playoffs at one point, I think, or you know, kind of flirted with it. But they finished down in 19th. Obviously must have had a terrible end to the season. Harrogate Town 19th. That's where I predicted them. That's where they finished. So I'm happy to at least get one right. We will certainly take that indeed. And the next one, again, in the right kind of area in the table, I predicted Stevenage to finish 18th. They ended up finishing 21st. We're obviously in a relegation battle. Got themselves out of it. So fair play to them. A couple of places off. But again, quite happy that I got Stevenage kind of in the right area, like I did with Oldham as well. So happy with that one, and Harrogate, of course. The next one is 17th, Scunthorpe United. Predicted them to struggle this season. Didn't predict them to struggle as much as they did. They were absolutely awful this season. I think they won, what was it, 4 games all season. Obviously, I'm not a massive Scunthorpe fan after what they did against Bristol Rovers on the final day, effectively costing the Cobblers promotion. But enough said about that, I think, before I get attacked in the comments. Predicted Scunthorpe to finish 17th. They predicted rock bottom in 24th. And like Oldham, they will be relegated into the National League, so won't have to predict them in the League 2 table next season. The next one, really close this one. I predicted Rochdale to finish 16th. They ended up finishing 18th. Obviously came down with the Cobblers from League 1 at the end of the 2020-2021 season. Yeah, in the right area. Predicted them to kind of struggle. Didn't think they'd be able to mount a promotion challenge straight away, and they didn't. So 16th for Rochdale is where I predicted them. They finished 18th, so only 2 places out there. The next one, a little bit off this one. I predicted Barrow to have a pretty good season back in the EFL. I predicted them to finish 15th. I don't really know why I predicted them to do so well, considering the teams below them were probably all better than them throughout the season and finished above them, apart from Oldham and Scunthorpe. But yeah, predicted Barrow to finish 15th. They finished 22nd, just avoiding relegation. So not a great prediction prediction, that one. In 14th, I predicted Crawley Town. I always said that Crawley were a very mid-table League Two club that aren't really going anywhere. They've obviously got new owners, so maybe next season I'll be predicting them to finish in the playoffs or even higher, depending on what they do over the summer. Too early to make predictions for next season, of course. Predicted them to finish 14th. They are now 12th, is where they finished bang in mid-table. So, yeah, pretty much Crawley living up to expectation there. They've obviously lost their manager, John Jens, now for very, very understandable reasons. Obviously, allegations have been made against him about the way he's treated some of his players, and we won't go too much further into that. So John Jens, I don't think we'll ever see in football again. Was doing a good job there, but obviously we did not know what was going on behind the scenes. So I'll immediately take that one back, I think. Enough said about Crawley. Next up is Carlisle. Predicted them to have a much better season than they did. Really, really struggled, Carlisle. Went through 3 managers throughout the season. They've obviously got Paul Simpson, who's a legend of the club, back in the building, and they'll certainly be wanting to mount a promotion challenge this season, next season, sorry. Went on some incredible run of form towards the end of the season. Still only finished 20th, though. I predicted them to finish 13th and have an average mid-table season. Carlisle, by the sounds of it, seem to either do pretty well in League Two and challenge for the playoffs, or do pretty rubbish, and it was pretty rubbish for them this season. They came 20th. The next one, Exeter, predicted them to finish 12th. They finished 2nd. Basically, the reason behind that one didn't really make much sense for me, actually, looking back on it. I pretty much said Exeter have had too much playoff heartbreak in the last few years. They need a season to just calm themselves down, mid-table, and that's obviously not what happened. They really kicked on and went one better than the playoffs and got promoted automatically in 2nd place. Certainly the best team, I would say, in the league this season. Obviously, Forest Green did very well, but I've watched Exeter a couple of times, and yeah, they were fantastic throughout the season. Better than Forest Green, I would say, and probably maybe deserving of the title ahead of Forest Green. So that's the bottom half of the table that I predicted. A couple in the right kind of areas. Obviously, Crawley not too far off. Rochdale wasn't too far off. Stevenage not too far off. Harrogate bang on. Oldham not too far off either. So happy with that one. Sutton was obviously a massive howler, and Exeter a little bit of a howler as well. So let's have a look and see how I fared in the top half of the table. Okay, so next up in 11th, I predicted Bradford City. Bradford really struggled since coming back down to League Two. They've obviously got Mark Hughes in charge now, and I think next season I'll be predicting them probably a lot higher than 11th. They finished 14th in the end, so again, the right kind of area. Didn't maybe struggle as much as I thought they would. Obviously started the season off with Derek Adams, who's now at Morecambe, and brought Mark Hughes in, which was, a fantastic coup for League Two as well. And the size of that club, they should be in League One, maybe even the Championship. So I think Bradford will have a better season next season if they get the summer right, finishing 14th in the end, so only 3 places off there. In 10th was my team. I predicted Northampton Town to finish there. John Brady's obviously first full season in league management. Looking at the squad, it looked like a decent squad. Didn't look like it could go much further than 10th, to be honest. And they finished 4th in the end, obviously missing out on promotion automatically on goals scored. Absolutely heartbreaking end to the season, and obviously lost on the playoffs the other night. So Cobblers will be back in League Two next season, and we'll be hoping to mount another promotion challenge, and hopefully I'll be predicting them a lot higher than 10th maybe next season. Maybe I'll predict them into those automatic places, but you've got to see how the summer goes and see how everybody else's summer goes. So Cobblers, predicted them to finish 10th. They exceeded my expectations, which I suppose is all you can ask for from your football club, and finished 4th in the end. Next up, I predicted in 9th Mansfield Town, in the right sort of area here. Predicted Mansfield to just miss out on the playoffs. Obviously had an awful start to the season, went on some record-breaking home runs throughout the season, which kind of shot them back at the table, and they ended up finished 7th and are obviously in the playoff final as well, so it could be in League One next season. They take on Port Vale next Saturday in the League Two playoff final. So Mansfield 2 places off there, pretty close. They finished 7th. I predicted them to finish 9th, and good luck to them in the playoff final. Next up in 8th, I predicted Forest Green Rovers, who obviously went on to win the league, so I was about 7 places off there. Not too pleased with that one. Didn't think Forest Green were going to do that well. Forest Green have obviously flirted with the playoffs in the last few seasons, have been in the playoffs and been knocked out in the semi-finals, haven't quite made it to that final stage, but they absolutely stormed the league this season. It looked like they were going to storm the league this season. In the end, they only won it by a small margin over Exeter. But yeah, Forest Green, fair play to them. They're going to be in League One next season. The likes of Sunderland going to the new lawn is going to be pretty exciting. That's if Sunderland don't get promoted, of course. They're in the League One playoff final themselves. So Forest Green, good season for them. Champions of League Two. And I was not very near, really. Just outside the playoffs is where I predicted them to finish. So fair play to Forest Green. Next up, in 7th, got this one right. Well, kind of. Predicted them to finish in the playoffs. I predicted Port Vale to finish in the playoffs, and they finished fifth. Predicted them to finish seventh. They finished fifth. So happy with that one. Got one of the teams in the playoffs. Bang on. Next up, Bristol Rovers in sixth. That's where I predicted them to finish. They obviously finished third for an absolute, fluke, if you call it that, winning 7-0 against Scunthorpe on the final day. Obviously, we've talked about Scunthorpe already and how I'm not a massive fan of them. But fair play to Bristol Rovers. I think if that, those scenarios happened, that scenario, was in place on the final day another 100 times, 99 times out of 100, the Cobblers get promoted with their 3-1 win at Barrow. But Bristol Rovers, fair play, enjoy League One next season, and I'll probably see you back in League Two very soon, or maybe next season we'll swap over. The Cobblers can go into League One while Bristol Rovers get relegated back down to League Two. Wouldn't be a surprise whatsoever. Next up in fifth, this is a really poor one. Predicted Colchester United to finish fifth. Not really sure what I was thinking with this one. They ended up finishing 10 places lower in 15th, so not impressed with that one. Colchester, have a better season next year, please, and I probably won't be predicting them as high as fifth. Next up, Tranmere Rovers in fourth. That's where I predicted them. That looked to be on for most of the season. They were in the top three for a part of the season as well, but really fell off towards the end of the season. Ended up finishing ninth in League Two, missing out even on the playoffs when it looked like they were set for automatic promotion. So Tranmere, I think, really let me down. Probably with 10 games to go, that prediction would have been pretty spot on, but poor end to the season. Ended up finishing ninth, did Tranmere. Newport, again, another team that I expected to kind of that have kind of flirted with the playoffs in recent seasons. I predicted them to finish third, go one better than the playoffs and get automatic promotion. They didn't do that this year. They came 11th. James Rounby is in there now as well. So hopefully next season for Newport they can mount a promotion challenge. But I'm saying that about so many teams at the moment, which shows how competitive League Two is these days. So Newport, predicted them to finish third. They finished 11th, so not a great prediction there from me. Well, my top three really aren't great predictions because they finished 10th, 13th and 11th. In second, I predicted Leyton Orient. They're the team that finished 13th in the end. Orient looked fantastic at the start of the season. Looked like they were going to win the league. Obviously had Kenny Jackett in charge. Have completely fallen off as well, but now look kind of re-galvanised under Richie Wellens, I think, who's in charge there now. So wouldn't be surprised to see Orient mount another promotion charge next season, but really fell off this season and almost looked like they were going to be in a relegation battle at one point under Kenny Jackett. Predicted them to finish second. They finished 13th, so not a good one. And then this one, I could not believe that in my head that I predicted this. Salford, predicted them to finish first, win the league this season. They ended up finishing 10th, missing out on the playoffs, missing out on promotion, and another season in League Two next year for Salford. They've obviously sacked, I think, Gary Bowyer in the last couple of days as well, so he's not going to be there next season. But with that Salford squad at the start of the season, I really thought, as much as it pained me to say it, that Salford were going to make it up to League One at last. Maybe they'll do it next season. Who knows? But knowing Salford, they'll probably bottle it again. So yeah, pretty relatively satisfied with my League Two predictions. Obviously, the Cobblers had come down from League One when I predicted this, so I didn't know much about League Two at the time because obviously I'd not been in it, so I hadn't watched much of it. So yeah, certainly a very interesting table prediction. Some absolute howlers in there. Salford winning the league. I mean, my top three was pretty rubbish. Salford, Orient and Newport. None of them even got in the playoffs. They finished 10th, 13th and 11th, as I mentioned. Colchester was a bad one. Bristol Rovers not too far away. Port Vale not too far away. Mansfield close as well. Cobblers massively exceeded my expectations, which is always good. Yeah, so some good predictions in there and some ones that certainly need work for next year, and I'm looking forward to making that video already. So that's pretty much it. There you have it. That is what I thought was going to happen in League Two this season. There's what actually happened. What do you think of my predictions? Let me know in the comments. Did you make any predictions? How did they turn out for you? Let me know in the comments as well. Make sure to drop a like on the video as well. And yeah, hit the subscribe button for whenever I'll next upload. Don't know when that's going to be yet. Make sure to check out my retain list video as well. Put that out yesterday, where I said what I would do if I was in John Brady's shoes this summer at the Cobblers. But yeah, that's it from me. Thanks very much. Make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you all later. Bye-bye.